Alhamdulillah, tomorrow night I'm gonna smash your boy, guys. I'm gonna smash your boy.
Have you ever wondered why Russians continue to dominate the world of MMA? The reason is simple. They are built different. Back in the day, it was Fedor Emelianenko ripping through the OGs of the fight game like a hungry bear in a panic. And these days, we see Khabib Nurmagomedov's teammates making the best fighters in the world look like tomato cans. Between Fedor and Khabib, hundreds of Russians have competed under bright lights. But only a few have managed to be so exceptionally good at their craft that the only reasonable way to stop them is by denying them a visa. In today's video, we'll take a look at the most dominant fighters of Russian origin, including names you may not know about. So let's get started. Umar Nurmagomedov is the most promising prospect in the UFC bantamweight division right now, and he has all the traits of a fighter trained by the late, great Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. Like his teammates, Nurmagomedov is a World Combat Sambo champion. But what sets him apart from the other great fighters in his family is his exciting Muay Thai style, especially his flashy kicks that are straight out of an old-school Hollywood movie. Umar is a modern-day Dagestani who is far more dangerous and calculated than the ones that came before him. He is patient, but when given an opportunity to finish a fight, he would pounce on his foes with vice-like killing grip.
But then you have Umar.
He looks great, man.
Fucking phenomenal. Completely different style.
Yep.
An undefeated mixed martial artist, Young Eagle is ready to soar to greater heights and potentially surpass some of the greatest warriors from the Caucasus. Anatoly Malykhin is a bad dude, and his most recent performances prove just how scary this tank of a heavyweight from Kemerovo is. A freestyle wrestler turned mixed martial artist, Malykhin has had a lot of success in a short term. He started his MMA journey in 2016, piling up an impressive record of 8 wins without a loss in 3 years, before joining one championship in 2021, where he continues to dominate the promotion's finest fighters. In only his third one championship fight, he won the interim heavyweight title. In his second fight, he went down a weight class to capture the light heavyweight title by running through a tough-as-nails Rainer de Ritter. And in his third fight, he ragdolled reigning heavyweight champion Erjan Bullard to become a champ. Such are the levels to his game. Former Bellator heavyweight champion Vitaly Minakov was once considered the next Fedor Emelianenko, and for good reason. The Sambist and judoka started his mixed martial arts journey in 2010, and within a few years, he established himself as one of the top big boys in the world, winning the Bellator heavyweight title in 2013 by stopping Alexander Drago Volkov, before defending it once against Czech Congo. Unfortunately, he had to part ways with the promotion after a contractual dispute. From 2014 to 2017, Minakov won another 7 fights, with his most notable victories coming against Tony Johnson and Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Until 2017, Minakov dispatched every heavyweight that crossed his path and piled up a record of 21-0 before he lost 2 out of his next 3 fights and took a break from fighting since his body wouldn't respond the way it used to in his heyday. Prime Minakov was a monster among men, with many Russians debating over who would have won a potential fight between Minakov and Fedor if they fought in their heyday. Like his elder brother Umar, Usman Nurmagomedov is a modern-day Dagestani who combines his world-class wrestling and striking skill set to give his foes nightmares inside the cage. Usman is violence personified. He likes to light his opponents up like a Christmas tree with his kicks, but he's also the best puncher in Team Khabib. The reigning Bellator lightweight champion is 17-0 in MMA and has steamrolled tough opponents like Patricky Pitbull and Benson Henderson. The 25-year-old's dominance knows no bounds, so don't be surprised if he gets his hands on the UFC lightweight title once Islam Makhachev rides into the sunset. Khamzat Chimaev is an absolute machine. When he signed with the UFC in 2020, he wanted to fight everyone and their mum.
Everybody, I come here for everybody, kill everybody, I'm the champ, I'm the king, kill everybody.
And he did dispatch 3 opponents in a little over 2 months after joining, but he has since slowed down, partly due to COVID and partly because the UFC doesn't trust him with a big fight anymore after he ruined his UFC 279 headliner against Nate Diaz due to a weight miss.
How did you miss weight by that much?
They stop that shit. I don't know. I want to more continue that shit. Hey, this is Chechen, motherfucker. Shut up, guys.
However, Chimaev destroyed everyone who stood against him, including Gilbert Burns, who also happens to be the Chechen-born fighter's biggest win, followed by Ikram Aliskerov, who was sent to the Shadow Realm thanks to an uppercut from the deepest pits of hell in their fight at Brave CF. The undefeated Wolf of the UFC is a ruthless wrestler with a Thor-like knockout power, and he has a very bright future ahead of him. Sergei Pavlovich is not someone you'd want to mess with. He's a mean dude with sharp boxing and has this gifted ability to send his opponents to a place where time does not exist with one punch. Predominantly a ruthless boxer much like Ivan Drago, Pavlovich started his martial arts journey with combat sambo, as any other Russian would, but he rarely goes for a takedown and likes to keep the fight on the mat. The UFC's hottest heavyweight prospect had a bad start to his UFC career when he stepped in on short notice to face the hulking Alistair Overeem and lost by a TKO in 2018. Since then, he's won 6 fights in a row, and all in the first round, with 3 of his most recent wins coming against top contenders. At 18-1 as a professional, Pavlovich is the most dominant Russian heavyweight in UFC history already. Islam Makhachev is a nightmare for anyone who isn't a god at defending takedowns. The 31-year-old currently holds the lightweight title, which he won by disseminating the man with the most submissions in UFC history, Charles Oliveira, proving that if Sambo was easy, it'd be called jiu-jitsu. Unlike most people on this list, Makhachev doesn't have a lot of big names on his resume just yet, but allegedly most of the top lightweights turned him down when he was a contender. Therefore, he mostly had to fight up-and-comers or decent contenders with little championship aptitude. In his title fights, however, Makhachev faced 2 of the best fighters in the world right now. One he dominated and the other pushed him to the limit. With 24 career wins and only 1 blemish on his record, the Dagestani is the boogeyman of the lightweight division. To all the lightweight contenders out there, good luck with trying to get that shiny gold belt from him. Doomed to always be compared to his elder brother Fedor Emelianenko, Alexander Emelianenko doesn't perhaps get the credit he deserves. A 2-time Sambo world champion, Alexander was very much like his brother in characteristics. But in the personal sphere, Alexander's troubles outside of the cage hampered what could have been a legendary career. Unlike his big brother, who was a submission specialist and one of the most technical heavyweights of his time, Alexander was a brawler who loved to trade punches. With a relaxed stance and Ali-like movement, Alexander was an unusual but effective MMA striker who had a lot of success in his early days. From 2003 to 2010, Alexander fought 20 times, with 17 victories, most by knockout. His overall record is 28 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw, which is still pretty solid to be fair and enough for him to be considered a force to be reckoned with in his heyday. Next on our list is the greatest women's flyweight of all time, Valentina Shevchenko. The multiple-time Muay Thai and kickboxing world champion signed with the UFC in 2015 and competed in the bantamweight division for a while before moving down to flyweight to kickstart her dominant run in the division. The bullet first pierced Joanna Jędrzejczyk to win the vacant belt before bagging 7 successful title defenses with 4 finishes. Shevchenko is a top-tier striker with world-class grappling, which she uses to punch holes in her helpless opponents. Valentina, who is of Russian-Ukrainian heritage, holds every record in the flyweight division, including the most title wins, the most title defenses, and the most wins in title fights in the UFC 125-pound division's history. The real-life Black Widow is one of the most dominant female fighters of all time. Khabib Nurmagomedov is a pioneer of Dagestani MMA. His unrivaled success inside the octagon has inspired generations of Dagestani youth to step up and conquer the world. He's proved that even if you come from a remote and somewhat hostile area, the opportunities are still endless if you're willing to work hard and persevere. In his fighting days, Khabib's wrestling was on another level altogether. He'd pick his opponents up, put them on their butts, and then proceed to punch their faces in without breaking a sweat. Because of his scary fighting style, Khabib was allegedly avoided by many top contenders and veterans of the lightweight division until he got his hands on the gold strap. From there on, the contenders had no choice but to fight him. In his final 3 career fights, Khabib fought the biggest names on his resume. At UFC 229, he had his red panty night when he absolutely smashed Conor McGregor and choked him out in the 4th round to secure a first successful title defense. In his 2nd and 3rd title defenses, Khabib dominated Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje and finished them with ease to end his career at 29-0. In his legendary career, Khabib was never dropped, he never bled, and only lost 2 questionable rounds. He was simply ahead of the curve. Number 1 on our list is Fedor Emelianenko, who doesn't have an unblemished record, nor did he ever fight in the UFC. But his legacy will remain unrivaled unless someone goes on a 27-fight unbeaten run against the baddest men on the planet. In his prime, Fedor was the man to beat. His reign of terror lasted for nearly a decade, and he dominated the OG gangsters of mixed martial arts, including Renato Sobral, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, Mirko Cro Cop, Big Nog, and Mark Hunt, among others. The ice-cold killer from Russia was a force everyone did their best to avoid, and until 2009, he had a record of 31 wins, 1 loss, and 1 no contest, which is filthy good considering the fact that the heavyweight competition was pretty tough back in the day. For all that he's done in his legendary career, Fedor is truly the last emperor of heavyweight mixed martial arts.